So, considering that most award shows have snubbed Better Call Saul in one way, shape, or another, I figured it'd be best if I gave Better Call Saul an award of my own. This is my award, purely CGI, that I'm giving to Better Call Saul for being quite literally the perfect show. And yes, I mean that in every sense of the word. Better Call Saul Season 6 just released on Netflix yesterday, and I figured what better time to relive my favorite art piece ever. And no, I haven't seen Succession, and I know some people think that is like the best art thing ever, and I get that, and I know there's some other shows, and art is subjective, and yada yada. Here's the thing. I genuinely think Better Call Saul is the best show that has been ever made, ever, hands down. It's better than Breaking Bad. It's up there as some of the greats of all time, and yet it gets completely snubbed in every which way. I understand that it won some SAG awards recently, so I can't say it's fully just cut off from awards and all of that stuff, but for the most part, it has been. But I'd like to take a quick trip down memory lane and explain why I personally think Better Call Saul is a perfect show. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Better Call Saul is a spin-off of Breaking Bad, but it really stands on its own with its own identity completely. And that's because the writers, Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, set up something truly amazing. It's really like lightning struck in a bottle. And that is the combination of acting, writing, cinematography, production, setting. So much more, so much more. That's just to name a few. But all of those little details add up to something truly, truly special that is unlike anything else on the planet. So first off, I want to talk about the fact that Better Call Saul in and of itself is a prequel. And at that, it's a prequel of something that I don't think any of us were really that excited for, to be completely honest. So we all knew that Jimmy McGill was a comedic relief figure within Breaking Bad, but the thought of him having his own drama comedy show at the time, just honestly, it seemed so unappealing, because who really cared about Saul Goodman as an actual person at the time? This was around season 5 of Breaking Bad when the news started to roll out that there was going to be a spinoff all about Saul, and it was going to be a drama. I remember distinctly when Better Call Saul started airing its first few episodes, I was not interested at all. I tried to get into it and I watched the first couple episodes and I didn't like it. I really didn't. And it wasn't because I gave it a chance. It was because I mentally didn't allow myself to do that. I blocked it out because I was like, how can you make a show about Saul Goodman? This doesn't even make sense. And then I matured a little bit. I waited a couple years and I went back and watched it. Oh boy, was I wrong. And that's the amazing thing. In and of itself, prequels have a really hard time establishing themselves because they're not the original thing. And a lot of people, obviously by default, are going to compare a prequel to the original thing. But that's exactly what happened here. Everyone was comparing this to Breaking Bad, and especially in the first season, people didn't really know what this was going to be. And even before, prequels just have a lot to live up to. They have to really set the bar high if they want to make any form of impression. That's why a lot of prequels and spin-offs fail. But the amazing thing that really separates Better Call Saul from a lot of the other spin-offs and things like that out there is it has the same crew pretty much in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's different subcontractors for things like set design and certain other things and other elements of production and things like that. But I'm talking about the core cast of writers, the production crew, and a lot of those core elements, they were all there from Breaking Bad. It was the same people. So obviously from the tippity top, you have Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. Peter Gould being a little bit newer to the scene. And again, I don't know exactly how new Peter Gould was. I don't remember if he did anything with Breaking Bad. I know he did to some extent. I don't know what. So quote me on that or let me know down in the comments. I can't remember. But regardless, Vince Gilligan, this was his baby. Peter Gould also in a similar boat. This was his baby as well. They came together and really formed something that worked very well symbiotically with Breaking Bad because they made the show. They knew the show. They knew the characters. So what I like about that is you have from top down the same people who knew Breaking Bad, they know Better Call Saul, and it's just one long story. It's not as if it's Breaking Bad, then Better Call Saul, then El Camino, as in like this own bubble of different spin-offs that feels just very very AMC focused, if that makes any sense. No, not at all. Here, you get the actual crew just extending the story. And I know that's the case for some other shows and things like that. Usually they'll have a showrunner, but everything else is different. I'm looking at like The Walking Dead as an example. You have Scott Gimple at the top, but everyone else on the shows and all of that stuff, they're usually different directors, different writers. Sometimes they're the same. It just depends. Obviously, you have some pieces that are very similar, but I think what really sets Better Call Saul apart, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but what really sets it apart is it's pretty much the same crews from Breaking Bad just brought over to this new show in their lineup. And I think that goes a very long way because it touches on things like cinematography. The cinematography in Better Call Saul is absolutely phenomenal, if not better than Breaking Bad. You know what? I don't even know what I'm saying. It's way better than Breaking Bad. Like, way better. I thought about it as I was going, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Am I thinking correctly? Like, Better Call Saul does such a fantastic job in every which way with its cinematography. They get really creative here, and towards the end of the show, they just start flexing. Some of the shots you get, some of the compositions you have in this show are unlike anything I've ever seen put to television, and to tell it this way, to tell the story with the camera following you in certain ways, with the camera shooting things that you don't normally see, with the color grading and everything that is brought out from the cinematography and editing. This show just has a mind of its own. And obviously that comes back up. The chain comes back up to the show being made by the same people. And that is really good because they're learning as they go. These are experienced people. They knew how to shoot Albuquerque, which plays another huge part in this story. You have an incredible setting, and this show really made it very sound with the cinematography. But these producers, these writers, these crew people, they knew how to take advantage of that because they were there for 5-6 years, even 7 years or so prior filming Breaking Bad. They knew how to shoot the Albuquerque desert. They knew how to shoot New Mexico overall, and here they were just straight up flexing. I remember towards the end of season 6, each shot I was watching, I was like, they are just straight up flexing. Every single one of them is just pure gold. Even when they went to black and white for the last couple episodes of Better Call Saul, it was just straight up pure gold in every which way, even though there was no color. And even though those episodes in particular aren't like my favorite out of the show, I still love what they did from a creative perspective. And I'm talking top down, writing, cinematography, the setting, everything about it, even how they made Kim go to Florida and stuff like that. It felt so right. It felt so real. It was so good. And then the next thing that really makes Better Call Saul so unique and so good is the acting. The acting in the show is top notch. And that's why it goes back to me saying, I do not understand how these crew members do not have more Emmys or more SAG Awards or anything like that. I understand Giancarlo Esposito won something. I'm pretty sure Bob Odenkirk did as well. But for the most part, that's relatively it. Rhea Seehorn was nominated, I believe, for Emmys, if I'm not mistaken. But every single person on this crew deserves an Emmy. They really do. I don't understand how they didn't. And I think what it really boils down to, I'm going to start with one character in particular, and then it's going to apply to others kind of, but Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk forever was a comedian. He wrote comedy sketches, and then he was the comedic relief in Breaking Bad. And you see this similar trend in Hollywood, and not just with Better Call Saul, but you see this trend in Hollywood where comedy actors are taken out of their element into drama, and they're just perfect at the role. Like, look at Jim Carrey for a prime example. Comedy actor. He was on SNL. He was hilarious. Everyone knows Jim Carrey. Then he went to The Truman Show and some other shows like the Spotless Mind one. I don't even remember what that's called. That's a movie, not a show, but whatever. His acting was immaculate. And it's the same here, and it also works in reverse. So if there's drama actors going to comedy, that works just as well. Look at Leslie Nielsen. When he came onto the set of Airplane, he just killed it. Prior to that, he was doing drama. It really works for some weird reason when actors are out of their element, because then it becomes their element. And that's what makes Bob Odenkirk so special. He was never really that kind of person, but you get so much out of him, and his range as an actor is just so phenomenal. Watching him become Jimmy McGill, become Saul Goodman, become Gus, become Victor with a K, it is just so amazing, and it's all attributed to Bob Odenkirk. And of course, it's at the direction of the directors, it's at the direction of Vince Gilligan as a writer and showrunner overall, but it comes down to the actor just being so phenomenal, so meant for this role. So again, we're looking at this, and we're going to talk about some other characters in a minute, but we're looking at this so far. You got writing, which is perfect. You've got cinematography, which I think is perfect. You have acting, which is perfect. And again, it's not just Bob Odenkirk. You have Rhea Seehorn, who did a stellar job as Kim Wexler, keeping us on the edge of our toes the entire time we were watching that show. Like literally the entire time, everyone was on their edge of the edge of the seat, I should say, thinking, what is going to happen to Kim? And they're thinking that because we care so much for Kim, because she is just such a phenomenal character. Yes, obviously attributed to writing, but also attributed to Rhea Seehorn bringing that to life. She did such a phenomenal job. And it's not just her. It goes to Nacho Varga. I forget his actor's name off the top of my head, even though I know it very well. Regardless, Nacho Varga's actor did such a phenomenal job, especially in his last few seasons. Not just the last episode, but that last episode was phenomenal. But for the last few seasons that he was in, he just absolutely killed it. Then it goes to Mike Ehrmantraut and his actor, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks really brought out the drama side of Mike here, and you felt for him in a different way, and you understood what made him the way he was. Then you have Giancarlo Esposito as Gus. Here, where you hate Gus in Breaking Bad, you learn more about his vulnerabilities, and they become so integral to the story of Breaking Bad by the time you're done watching Better Call Saul. And Giancarlo Esposito does just such an amazing job here. I would argue that his job here is better than in Breaking Bad, but obviously they're both different. Here you get a much more grounded story. In Breaking Bad, you get a much more high-paced story. It really depends on which range you like from Giancarlo Esposito. There's a reason that he won an award for this show. It's because he just displays the best form of acting ever. And then you have the best villain ever in Tony Dalton's Lalo. Lalo is just a boogeyman that really just haunts the entire cast this season, of season 6 specifically, and season 5, and even season 4 a little bit. And I gotta tell you, he is the best villain that the Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, El Camino universe, I should say, has ever brought on. And that's attributed to Tony Dalton. Tony Dalton does just such an incredible job portraying that evil swagger, I guess is the only way I could really describe Lalo. It's just I can't picture anyone else in the role. I really can't. And I know there's probably another actor who would have made Lalo their own and made it amazing, but something about Tony Dalton, something about his face, something about the way he just portrayed him, I don't know if you could get that from anyone else specifically. Yeah, you could have probably got a different Lalo if you casted someone else, but Tony Dalton was born to play Lalo. Just like how Anthony Starr was born to play Homelander in The Boys, Tony Dalton was literally born to play Lalo. Just a straight up perfect character. And again, I'm talking about the acting right now. I'm not even talking about the depth of these characters as characters and their character arcs. We could go down rabbit holes for days and days and days about how all of these character arcs both divulged or either grew. It really depends on who the character is. Just watching Jimmy McGill become Saul Goodman in general was one of the best examples of character development, or I guess anti-development, that we've ever seen on TV. That's attributed to the writing. Kim Wexler is the best example of someone divulging from someone being professional to someone being really crappy to someone being good again, kind of, or at least trying to redeem herself. We have the best villain arc ever in, I was going to say Lalo, but I'm talking about Giancarlo Esposito as Gus. You get to see someone you hated in Breaking Bad just become so interesting. You learn so much more about how he operates in this shell of a man that is Gus. It is just straight up superb. Everyone just does such an incredible job. So it's acting and it's the characters together. Then it's the writing, it's the cinematography. it's the production, it's really everything here. This show is just straight up lightning struck in a bottle. I didn't even talk about Howard Hamlin. I don't even know how that didn't even happen. I didn't talk about him. There's other characters that never even came up, like Werner Ziegler, even more about Mike that we could explore. Mike is just so good. But these are just my honest thoughts thinking back on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I should say. Overall, Better Call Saul is perfect. I think it's better than Breaking Bad. And thinking about it fondly, it never stopped getting good to me. Like, you know when a show is new and you just finish watching it, it has that recency bias that, oh, this is the best show I've ever seen, yada yada. This show's been done for a year now, and I still feel the same way I did leaving the finale. Feel the exact same way. Oh, and that's another thing before we wrap up. The finale of this show, literally perfect.
Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
I can't think of a better way for them to wrap the show up. Now, the only thing I will say that I don't think is perfect, I guess, is the story they told with the whole black and white gene thing. I wasn't really a fan of that, but overall, what we got with it and the cards we were dealt because of the story decision they made to tell this story, if that makes any sense, what we got episode to episode was fantastic. I kind of wish we went a different route with Gene just a little bit, but I love that it wrapped up the way I at least envisioned it probably would, or something along the lines. Nothing felt like a super big shock other than what happened to Howard Hamlin. That was about the only thing in the whole show that felt like a shock, but even the ending, it felt like Jimmy got what was coming to him, and it was just done so well and so beautifully. And the story with him and Kim, it was just so good. You don't get that with TV. I mean, look at Game of Thrones as a prime example. Look at The Walking Dead as a prime example. There's a million and one other examples. Ozark. God, there's so many. We don't know how Succession's going to wrap up, but we at least have somewhat of an idea. Overall, the point is, it is really difficult to stick a landing, let alone stick a landing when you're a prequel series where you already know the fates of like all of these characters. It is so difficult to do, but they nailed it here. They nailed it. I really don't understand the argument of anyone who says this show is flawed. I don't. I would love to hear it down in the comments, but I don't see it. But yeah, that is my thoughts. I genuinely believe Better Call Saul is perfect. That is my hill to die on. This will go down. In my opinion, it still is so far the best show I've ever seen, ever. Point blank, period. I don't care what anyone says until something else comes along that's better. Hopefully it's from Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. I know Reyes Sehorn and Vince Gilligan are working on a production with Apple TV. I can't wait to see what that is. But really, the overall point is, until something better comes along, this is the best show I've ever seen, point blank, period. I'm so glad season 6 is now on Netflix. And with that out of the way, let me know if you liked this video. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on Better Call Saul down in the comments down below. If you agree, click that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date with Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, and all other things. And with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.